The decision to leave Vienna. From The Raven of Zürich, the Memoirs of Felix Somary, by Felix Somary. In the next 2 days, I had an interesting opportunity to observe the real atmosphere between the Germans and the French. The Bayerische Aluminiumfabrik transaction had been launched under the official auspices as an expression of the solidarity of the European continent. But there was little solidarity in the social intercourse between Frenchmen and Germans. The French felt the punctilious politeness of the Germans as arrogant condescension. Moreover, they not only gave the Germans no credit for their neutrality in the Russo-Japanese conflict, but now resented having to share their Russian allies with the Germans. The German industrialists, for their part, were irritated by the local custom that decreed no business talk during the sacred ritual of lunch. Business was what they had come to Paris to discuss, and everything else was a waste of time. At that time, and on numerous subsequent occasions, I saw how the sincere efforts of both governments for a rapprochement was sabotaged by a part of the upper class. Soon after my return, I informed Moravitz of my intention to leave the Anglo Bank and go to Berlin. He refused to understand my reasoning. For him, high finance was the most interesting and honorable profession that existed, an absolutely desirable end in itself, and an appropriate goal for anyone who had worked his way up to such a position. The idea of being in the banking business purely as a means of securing financial independence for other pursuits struck him as sacrilege. And then to seek involvement in the quarrel of two governments, for that was how he saw it, seemed to him nonsensical. He said I was either too naive or so arrogant as to count on success as the beginning of such an enterprise. The link I had in mind between financial business and political influence was an unfortunate idea, he thought. Public opinion scorned the businessman who purported to be working for the public good. Such motives could only be attributed to the politician, although that breed, whatever they pretended to the contrary, usually looked first to their own interests, and were the corrupting element in relation to businessmen. Moreover, Moravitz could hardly imagine in what way I might act as an intermediary. If I attained some official position in Berlin, I should lose all credibility in England, and vice versa. And the intermediary without high position would find it hard to compel attention and win the respect of both sides. Did I really, he asked finally, want to renounce money and status? I felt that he had been deeply wounded by my decision and could well understand why. He had taken me up as a young man and raised me to a high position in the face of opposition from envious colleagues among the bank's executives. To exchange such a position for something as uncertain as I contemplated seemed to him akin to selling the bank itself short. He was proud of his own accomplishment. He had taken over the bank only 4 years previously, when he was nearly 60, had devoted at least 12 hours a day to its affairs, something rare in a man who, by present reckoning, possessed a fortune worth of several 100 million Swiss francs. In that period, he had doubled the real value of Anglo-Bank's shares. Only a few more years under his leadership, and the bank would be one of the leaders among the prime Austrian banks. And now his heir presumptive wanted to drop it all to go chasing phantoms.
You and Kassel have reinforced each other's fears, he said. England and Germany are not going to tear each other's hair out over the unknown Bosnians. War between those two, ridiculous. What either of them would lose in one day of war would pay for all of Bosnia. Sleep on it a few nights, and then let's talk about it again.
However, when the annexation of Bosnia was announced at the beginning of October 1908, and howls of rage resounded from the West, he became thoughtful.
I'm afraid you're right,
Moravec admitted.
This will be serious, and unfortunately, if we've given them a pretext, they will seize only too eagerly. What would you advise me to do now?
Liquidate the bank slowly and inconspicuously.
Just now, there's a boom beginning here?
This is not the start of an economic upswing, but a war boom.
Oh, you're always wetting your pants. Do you really think war is unavoidable?
No, but very hard to avoid.
That is to say, only if the big genius here goes to Berlin, our new Noah, who can prevent war. Otherwise, we'll all be swept away in the deluge.
I know it sounds like brazen presumption, but yes, I feel certain of it. I said these words in a soft voice, unusual for me.
Could be,
said Moravec, not in his usual ironic tone, but visibly moved.
You seem to have a nose for events that are about to happen. Well, I can't tie you down, but do me a favor. Stay another year, so that I can decide for myself whether I want to slowly liquidate the bank.
I agreed to stay on those terms.